there, and welcome along. It's great to have you with us.
Well, absolutely.
We all want to learn and grow, but finding the time, well, that's the tricky part.
Right. Life keeps happening.
So that's what we do here, try to break down interesting ideas efficiently. And today, we're diving into something called Prem Om. It's a fascinating method, really, and its origins are, well, they're deeply connected to Osho and his meditative therapies.
That's the core link, yeah. These therapies were designed to help people become more self-reliant, more their own sort of master.
Okay, so we're going to unpack that, see how these ideas fit together and what they might offer, for managing everyday life.
Sounds good. So maybe starting with Osho, his perspective on, let's say, traditional therapy was, well, quite different.
Different. I mean, most people think therapy involves talking things through, right?
Yeah.
Analyzing feelings and history.
Exactly. But Osho questioned if analysis and just verbalizing were the ultimate solution for our mental, let's call them challenges.
So what was his core idea then, if not talking it out?
His fundamental point was that the mind itself often creates the problems we face, or at least contributes heavily.
Okay.
So the idea that the same mind can then solve those problems just by analyzing them, he felt that was, well, maybe a bit limited, like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror.
Right, you're kind of stuck within the system that created the issue in the first place. Interesting.
Precisely. So his approach wasn't about more analysis. It was about preparing for something else.
Which was?
Meditation. Deep awareness. But he saw that many people carry a lot of inner turmoil, repressed stuff, that makes settling into quiet awareness really difficult.
Ah, okay. So the meditative therapies were like a bridge, or maybe clearing the ground first.
Exactly. Clearing the ground is a great way to put it. The goal of these therapies was to help release those pent-up emotions, the tensions that fuel our inner conflicts.
The stuff we push down or ignore.
Yeah, things like anger, sadness, fear. He believed that by finding ways to let this energy out safely, people could naturally find more peace.
And then, presumably, it's easier to just be, to observe your mind without getting tangled up.
That's the idea. Once the pressure cooker releases some steam, you can see the workings of your mind more clearly, and hopefully avoid creating new repressions, new knots.
What made these therapies unique then? How did they work?
Well, several things stand out. They were designed to be simple, quite direct, and effective. Interestingly, there was often minimal verbal interaction between participants.
Really? So not like group therapy where everyone shares their story?
Not typically, no. It wasn't about analyzing each other's pasts, but the group energy itself was seen as important.
How does that work if people aren't talking much?
Think of it like a shared focus. When everyone in a room is engaged in a similar process, even non-verbally, it can create a stronger field, a kind of supportive atmosphere that helps each person go deeper into their own experience.
Oh, okay, I can see that. Like meditating in a group versus alone.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And crucially, these methods didn't heavily rely on language or even a traditional therapist figure interpreting things for you.
Right, you mentioned a facilitator. What was their role?
More like a guide.
Yeah.
Someone to introduce the technique, hold the space, offer support if needed, but not to analyze or direct the individual's inner process. The focus was on the person's own experience, often using, movement, sound, breath, things that bypass that analytical part of the brain.
Got it. So, nonverbal, experiential, focused on release to prepare for deeper awareness. That's the Osho Foundation.
In a nutshell, yes.
Okay, so now let's bring in Prem Om. How does it connect? How does it build on this foundation?
Well, Prem Om explicitly draws from these Osho meditative therapies. It takes those core principles, releasing repression, calming the mind, fostering awareness, and structures them into a specific method.
So the DNA is clearly there.
Absolutely. The goal is very similar, helping people find that calmer state, that inner balance.
And we have some details on what Prem Om involves. It's described as mindfulness-based stress and emotional release. That sounds very direct.
It does. And it emphasizes self-healing techniques, which connects back to that Osho idea of becoming your own master, right? Finding your own balance.
Makes sense. The description positions it as a safe, easy, fast, online method for a transformative journey to self-mastery. What are the actual practices?
Okay, so the sources outlined a few key therapeutic practices. First, mindfulness meditation.
The classic stuff. Breath awareness, body scans.
Exactly. Focusing on the present moment, using the breath, scanning the body, grounding techniques, all aimed at reducing that mental chatter, the overthinking, and bringing about calm.
Standard but powerful. What's next?
Emotional awareness and release.
Yeah.
This is about encouraging you to actually recognize and, importantly, validate your emotions without judging them.
So acknowledging what you feel instead of pushing it away.
Precisely. And it might use tools like, say, journaling or perhaps expressive movement, maybe guided visualizations to help release those feelings once they're acknowledged.
Okay, so awareness first, then release. Then there are stress reduction techniques mentioned.
Yeah, things like progressive muscle relaxation, tensing, and releasing muscles, and guided imagery to soothe the mind and body. These are fairly common techniques for managing physical and mental tension.
Right. But it also lists cognitive reframing. That seems a bit more analytical. How does that fit with the Osho focus on bypassing the mind?
That's a good point. It suggests Prem Om might integrate some techniques for consciously changing your perspective on stressful thoughts or situations alongside the more experiential release work. Maybe a way to bridge the inner work with, practical thinking strategies.
And integration, perhaps.
Could be. And the final piece mentioned is the body-mind connection.
Which feels central to releasing stored emotions.
Definitely. It involves somatic awareness exercises, basically.
Yeah.
Tuning into your body to notice where you hold stress or emotion physically. The idea is that by bringing awareness to these physical sensations, you hope release the underlying emotional charge.
Like noticing your shoulders are always tense when you're anxious.
Exactly. And then working with that tension directly.
Okay, so putting it all together, mindfulness quiets the mind, emotional awareness lets you see and release feelings, stress techniques ease tension, and body awareness connects it all physically.
That seems to be the package.
And the promised benefits are pretty significant. Less stress, anxiety, depression, better emotional regulation, more resilience, self-awareness, self-compassion, a deeper connection with yourself and others, improved well-being overall.
Yeah, it's presented as quite comprehensive.
Yeah.
And linking back to that self-mastery idea, these benefits all point towards being better equipped to handle your inner world.
The description of what you learn also highlights this empowerment. It talks about freeing our energies, renewing vitality, creating space for silence. And I was struck by the phrase, bypassing the conscious analytical mind individually without interference. That really echoes Osho.
It does. It emphasizes that direct personal experience rather than external interpretation.
And the mention of nonverbal awareness, playfulness, relaxation, and watchfulness, it paints a picture of a state that's maybe less effortful, more allowing.
And the idea of no success and no fail is key there too, I think.
How so?
It takes the pressure off. If you're trying hard to succeed at releasing emotions, you can actually create more tension. This framing encourages just being with the process, whatever unfolds. It fosters exploration without judgment.
That makes a lot of sense, takes the striving out of it. And it mentions a typical online session is about 2.5 hours, including instruction.
Which suggests it's quite an immersive experience, enough time to really drop in and work through the different stages.
So wrapping it up, Prem Om seems to be a practical application of Osho's core ideas about emotional release and self-awareness, adapted into a structured online format.
Yeah, using those principles to give people tools, mindfulness, emotional release, body awareness, to become more self-reliant in managing their inner lives. Less about endless analysis, more about direct experience and release.
Okay, so we've traced the line from Osho's, let's say, unconventional views on therapy through his meditative approaches focused on release, right to the specific practices and aims of Prem Om. It's about using these kinds of methods to gain awareness and handle life's ups and downs more effectively.
Exactly. It's a fascinating lineage of ideas.
It really is, and it leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it?
Like maybe for you listening.
Yeah.
How much focus do you usually put on analyzing your feelings versus, say, finding ways to simply release emotional energy?
Yeah, and could exploring more nonverbal, experiential approaches, maybe like some of the elements in Prem Om, offer something valuable for your own sense of well-being? Just something to consider.
Definitely food for thought.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for exploring this with us. It's been really insightful.
My pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious and take care.